going to switch gears a little bit and going to look at orthographic mapping as it relates to spelling. I think it's really important because I think we're doing a lot of incredibly good work in terms of bringing about better instruction when it comes to reading. Reading has become a very important, or teaching reading well has become extremely important. I mean, it's always been extremely important, but I think it's at the forefront of educators' minds, and I'm really, really, really glad at that. But there's this other thing called writing, and that's a tiny bit neglected, I think. So what I want to do in terms of orthographic mapping is to talk about the difference between spelling and transcription. Now, I've got this model here on page 6, and I've annotated it a little bit for you, but what this model is, and it's just me, I just wrote this because it helps me think about this process. These things, all of these parts of this process overlap, right? So if you're talking about in initial instruction with systematic synthetic phonics, usually you start with a sound for a letter, right? One grapheme, one phoneme, and all of the graphemes, right, have a phoneme that you kind of expect it to make, right? They expect it to represent. So that's one sound, one letter. And then you can move from that, from that to additional common sounds that letters can make. So the letter A, right? Mostly it's representing A in words, but it can also say A, and it can also, in some accents, say ah, and so on, right? So you talk about those as you move along, and there's back and forth and overlap and so on. And then there's letter combinations, so S and H and T and H and so on. And that is basically, that's transcription. So when you're teaching and you're learning that and you're building your skill in that as a novice, you're transcribing sounds, right? You're transcribing sounds in words. And that's why this area, these 3 areas of beginning teaching, are where phonological awareness counts most, right? You've got to be able to perceive the sounds in words if you're going to be able to blend and segment these, these letters and these sounds and so on. But you've also got to come to grips with the orthography, and the orthography is how letters interact, right, with one another, not just sounds now, but how letters interact. And that's an area where the cognitive load can get really high, because with the orthography, you're incorporating things like etymology, where the word came from, uncommon spellings of words, morphology, and so on, and you're overlapping and going backwards and forwards with the effects of all of these factors on words. And that's a lot. That's a lot. But that is where, when from letter combinations, from sort of the more advanced letter combinations, orthographic expectancies, and the other elements here, that's spelling, right? That is spelling. Transcription is these 3, you're transcribing sounds, but this area is spelling. That's the difference, right? Spelling is knowing how the orthography operates, and it is not sound-based necessarily. There are other elements as well that you need to know about. And so that then, it's a big burden on teachers, right? Because teachers need that training and they don't get it in their degrees particularly.